Welcome. Today I will be paraphrasing, summarizing, and sharing for the January 2nd Al-Anon readings in Courage to Change and a Little Time for Myself. We'll begin with the Serenity Prayer and 3 mindful breaths. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. We'll begin with a little time for myself. I'm just going to take a minute to look this over. The question of the day is, what can I do today to respond rather than react? And the passage is about all the things that happen when living with alcoholism and how it can be very, very overwhelming. But the Al-Anon slogan, first things first, helps us to focus on the next right thing to do. Today's reminder says we're not expected to do everything first, but when we put first things first, we make progress, starting with the most important thing. The quote is from Alcoholism, the Family Disease, and it's saying that prioritizing things in the order of importance can remove much of our confusion and frustration. So back to the question, what can I do today to respond rather than react? What I find helpful, and sometimes I forget to do this, but if I say, I'll think about that, I'll get back to you, something of that nature. Let me check and I'll get back to you, something, so that it doesn't put me on the spot to give an answer and commit to something right then and there. Like I said, I forget to do this all the time, and I think it has to do with my tendency to people please, where I just want to give the person an answer, especially if I can somehow figure out quickly how to give them the answer that I think they want. But what I find is that when I wait and then give them a thoughtful, clear response, that benefits everybody, because I don't have to go back on what I said. I don't have to apologize. Just all of it. So that's what I find really helpful. I'll get back to you. Let me think about that. You might be right. I hadn't considered that, depending on the situation. So, what about you? What can you do today to respond rather than react? And I'm thinking of, even in like crisis situations, to pause enough to call my sponsor or an Al-Anon friend. That's all. I have actually done that in crisis situations. I've called, well, interestingly, it was an Al-Anon friend at the time because I didn't have a sponsor yet. My son was hospitalized and they weren't they were going to release him, but they needed to release him into someone's care. This is over a decade ago. And I was the only one there. So my son was asking me if he could come home to my house where he no longer lived. And what I did was I call him a friendly face. He was the first person I saw at my first Al-Anon meeting. This was really early in me going to Al-Anon meetings. And he talked it through with me. There we were in the emergency room, and he talked it through with me. Yeah, I said my son was hospitalized. He was in the hospital. He wasn't admitted. He was in the emergency room. And, but like, things move quickly and they needed an answer. And I just excused myself and called that Al-Anon person. And that person answered the phone and we talked it through. And it ended up working out that my son did come back. And we had an agreement. And we both stuck to it, and it worked out wonderfully. Very healing, actually, for both of us. And he part of the agreement was he left when he felt better. Yeah. But eventually he did come back, and he and his girlfriend lived with me for over a year. And that actually was the most healing thing of all. Anyway, great reading. Moving on. Ooh. This page has a tab and 3 highlighted parts. Okay, I'm excited. I'm going to look this over. Oh, yeah, this is a fantastic page. And this page was very grounding and inspirational, supportive, comforting, all the wonderful things that I needed when I was in crisis. I'm sure that's when I highlighted this. And it's still a beautiful page. It's a great reminder. So it's about, it's the famous saying, don't go to the hardware store looking for bread. That's how the reading starts out. I've heard that in meetings hundreds of times because it's such a perfect, uh, it's not really, an analogy, but I get kind of is when, when I say we, people in Al-Anon go to people who are suffering from substance abuse issues, and we go looking for something that that person who's in the throes of addiction cannot possibly give. They just can't give it because they're suffering. They're in the middle of a horrible disease. So this says we have to watch our expectations. It's our expectations that have let us down, not our loved ones who are suffering with substance abuse. And it goes on to say that love is expressed in many ways. We can find a never-ending supply of love and support and acceptance in our program. And today's reminder, I love this part. So it repeats again that the person in our life who is suffering from substance abuse may not be able to give us what we feel that we need, but this changed my life. And it applies to not only my loved one who was struggling with substance abuse, but it also is just good for me to hear all the time because I don't know, it just is for me. It's very good that nobody can give us everything that we need. If we really look closely, all the love and support we need, we already have. We have it in our higher power. We have it in our program. We have it from multiple sources. If we're really lucky, outside of Al-Anon, with friends, with family, with whatever other support people we have in our lives. And then the quote is from One Day at a Time in Al-Anon. That there's always light at the end of the tunnel with our program. And our program helps us evaluate our ideas and our attitudes to make sure that we are living a more healthy way and in gratitude rather than feeling like a victim. I'm not sure I said that exactly right. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but what I mean when I say that is that we are powerless over alcoholism and other substances, but we are not powerless when it comes to expressing our love for the person, not the disease. We are not powerless when it comes to managing our own thoughts and ideas and our actions, how we care for ourselves, how we treat others. That's a lot of power there. That's a lot of power. So when we focus on that, I personally feel like I have better outcomes when I focus on that. We'll close out with the Serenity Prayer and 3 mindful breaths. Here we go. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Sending you love. Take care.